In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a directory website entirely using Claude Code. I will show you how to design and build one step by step without having to write any code yourself, how to deploy it for completely free, and I mean it, completely free, and how to set up a content management system that will allow you to easily manage the content and the data of the directory from your laptop or even your phone. This is a setup that I highly recommend to anyone that has an interesting idea for a directory website but doesn't want to invest a lot of money and time up front without the project having some success first. If this sounds interesting to you, let's dive right in. Now, this is the sample directory that I put together as part of this tutorial. It's basically a directory that lists out the best breakfast places in a specific location. Each breakfast place gets its own details page here, where we have the name, we have an editor's verdict, we have ratings, the highlights, things that we recommend you order when you go there, the location, and other information about the business. This same architecture can be applied to pretty much all directories. Same principles, same idea, just different design and maybe a different set of data fields. Now, this directory is controlled by a content management system that I built inside Notion. So Notion is my go-to app for storing knowledge, for storing data. So I chose to use Notion as my content management system, where I'm able to basically control and manage all the different places that are shown on this directory by just editing records on a Notion database, which is very convenient because this database can be accessed from anywhere I am. I can access it from my laptop here. I can open it on my phone. It's super user-friendly. And it's just like a great experience, to manage a website. I don't need to touch any of the code. So I can just go here and add a new place anytime I want. And then I have a button that I can click to deploy this new version of the website with the new data. So this is all automated. I don't need to touch any of the code. I just focus on putting the right data in the database, and then with a click of a button, it's live on the web. The hosting is completely free, so I don't even need to pay for anything. So overall, it's just a great system. Now let's dive into the actual tutorial, where I will show you step by step how I put together this entire system. All right, now the first thing I worked on was the UI design. And for this, I use Claude Design. I find myself using Claude Design more and more often these days because it just does a great job for me to convert my idea, the idea that I have in my head for what a website or what an application front end should look like, into an actual prototype, right? So I always like to go to Claude Design. I give it one prompt, which includes all the information about what I have in my head. So in this case, I said, I want to create a UI design for a breakfast directory. This is a website directory that lists out the best breakfast places in a city. The website will have a template for a breakfast spot. Basically, this is the details page, the actual the restaurant page that will contain all the information about a specific restaurant. It will include pictures of the spot, pictures of the food and drinks, highlights, a ratings table, which includes scores for the quality, price, parking, environment, and uniqueness, a map of the location, website link, links to socials, and other things you might recommend. And for the homepage, I want you to give me some suggestions of what it might look like. I definitely want to have some kind of listings table with nice cards that show different spots and contain a high-level summary of the spot's highlights, right? So the way that I imagine the website is that it will have two main page templates. The first one would be the home page, and then the other template would be the actual restaurant or the coffee shop details page. So I gave it that information, and then what I really like about Claude Design is that it always comes back with some clarification questions, and this is great because it helps me brainstorm on the spot and kind of like better define my vision for what I'm looking for. So I came back with a few questions. First one is whether I want it to be like a single city directory or multi-city. I said that I want it to be a single city for now. The overall vibe, I'm going for like a warm and cozy vibe. What should I design first? I said that I want to see both. I want to see variations for both the homepage as well as the spot detail page. For the homepage, what should the variations explore? I selected all of them, so I want to see the card layouts. For the listings, I want to see a hero and header, different hero sections and headers. I want to see different colors and types and different ways to browse and filter the spots, the breakfast spots. And then photography plan, I said use drop-in image placeholders because then I didn't have any like images to send it at this point. Then for extra features, I said that I want to see the reviewer's verdict on the listing. And then finally, what should each listing card show? I said that I want to show the overall rating, the top highlights, a short one-line summary, and the price level. So this is what will go on the card for each restaurant that will appear on the homepage. And then it also asked me what I want the ratings table to look like on the restaurant's details page, and I selected these bars here. Now, after a few minutes, it came back with the prototype, and this prototype included a few different layouts of the homepage. As you can see, different layouts, one with a directory view, one with a map view, then this one here with other colors. And then this is like the listings page. I think it only generated like one variation of the listings page, but that's fine because I liked it. So yeah, I reviewed them, and the one that I liked the most was 2A here, the detail page, and then 1A, which was the first variation of the homepage that had this like featured restaurant at the top, and then the directory with all the other restaurants at the bottom. Something that I did want to take from I think it was 1C here, were these tags that appeared above the different restaurant listings. I wanted to add this into 1A as well. So I told it that I like 1A, but I prefer the category tags of 1C. And 2A, the details page, is nice, so it should go with that one. So it went ahead and brought the category tags into the 1A template, but I didn't like that it put the tags on top of the featured restaurant here. I prefer to have the tags where the actual the actual listings are, because that's what would actually get affected. These are the listings that would change based on the tags that are selected. So it makes more sense for them to be here. So I told it that I want the tags to be on the directory level, not above the featured restaurant. So it went ahead and moved them down there. Now I was happy with these layouts, so I told it to go ahead and remove everything except layout 1A and 2A, and then combine them both together into like a working mock-up, a working prototype that I could interact with. So I went ahead and put the mock-up together, and now it started to feel more like a real functioning website. Now, once I was happy with the prototype that Claude Design helped me put together, it was time to convert the design into actual front-end code. Now, the cool thing about Claude Design is that it makes it very simple to bring the design into Claude Code. All you have to do is just go to Share, More Formats and Apps, and then this pop-up comes up where you can just copy this prompt here and give it to a Claude Code session, and Claude Code can instantly see all the files that have been generated as part of the Claude Design session. So I went into a new Claude Code session. I basically created a directory, a folder on my computer called Breakfast Directory. I opened this up into a new Claude Code, a new Visual Code Studio session here, and then I launched Claude Code in my terminal. Now, the prompt that I gave it is I want to create a breakfast directory based on this mockup that I created in Claude Design. I pasted this prompt that I copied from here. The website will connect to a database CMS that I haven't yet defined, but should remain statically generated, so I can host it on Cloudflare for free. Let's choose the right tech stack and build the front end. Now, this prompt is actually quite important because this defines the architecture of the website. And some of the key decisions here is that I want the website to be statically generated. What that means is that the website will not have a database. It will not require a server to actually run. And the reason for this is because I want to keep this project as lightweight as possible. I don't want to set up a server with a database and like a backend code that I will need to maintain and also have to pay for every month, because the server is not free. You need to pay for a server every month. Of course, you can start at a low scale, and I know there's a bunch of like free hosting solutions, but I didn't want to go down that route. I wanted this project to be as lightweight as possible, so I chose to make it a statically generated site that connects to a CMS. Now, what statically generated means is that every single thing, every single piece of content that is displayed on the website will come from a file that is generated during the deployment of the website. There will not be a database. There will not be any backend code that needs to run in order to render what the user will see when they visit the website. However, here, this part might be a little bit confusing because I do say that I want it to connect to a database. Now, what this means is that, yes, I do want to store all the coffee shops, all the restaurant information into a database, but I don't want the website to be served through that database. This database will act as kind of like the source of data that will generate all the pages of the website during the deployment phase, right? And this will make a little bit more sense when we move further on into the development of this project. But I just wanted to give you an overview here of of the architecture decisions that I had to make before starting the development and writing the actual code. So I took my instructions, and then after about 13 minutes, I had a directory here with all the code written. So it went ahead and converted the Claude Design mockup into actual front-end code. And it also wrote all the code that make this site a statically generated site. I said that I want to run it, so it went ahead and did a local deployment for me. So the website was available for me to view in my local host. This is what it looked like. As you can see, pretty much identical to what I had in Claude Design. Now, the next part of this project was setting up Notion as my CMS, and CMS stands for Content Management System. Now, the idea here is that I wanted Notion to be the source of truth, right? The place where I store all the content, the actual content that I want to display on this website. And by content, in this case, I'm referring to the restaurant and coffee shop reviews. The reason that I wanted Notion to be my CMS is that Notion is already the place where I work, right? It's already the place where I store all my knowledge, I store all my project information, all my tasks. So it's very easy for me to be out on a coffee shop, to take a picture and quickly go in my Notion database and write a review for a restaurant or a coffee shop. It would be much more of a hassle if I had to go into Claude code every time and give it all the information about a restaurant and ask it to convert that into a website post, right? For me, it's much easier to use Notion, and also in the future, if I want people to be kind of like if I want to have somebody posting reviews for me, I would much rather have them edit a Notion database rather than edit the code of my website, right? So I hope that makes sense. And Notion is not the only CMS you can use. There is a bunch of CMS tools that you can use. By the way, Notion is not really a CMS. It's just like a database, but I'm using it as my content management system. You could also use Airtable. You could use even like platforms that are built to be CMS, like Contentful or I don't remember the other ones, but there's so many out there. Anyway, so I told it I want the CMS of the site to be Notion. Give me a plan on how to structure the database and the content from the database to be deployed on the site. So it went ahead and generated a database structure for me that will contain all the fields that will map to actual values that are displayed on the front end of the website. So by values, I'm referring to, for example, here this is the name of the coffee shop or restaurant. This here is the overall rating. This here is like the one-line summary, the one-line highlight, right? So this is what I'm referring to by fields on the website. So I went ahead and created the structure. It actually created quite a lot of fields, Notion properties. So these are the names of the fields, the types of the fields, and which elements they map to on the actual website. It actually created multiple databases. So it had one called Spots, which is basically the restaurant or the coffee shop. And then there was another one called Highlights. So each highlight that would link to a place would have its own record in this highlights database. So a highlight would contain a title, an icon, a description, a spot, the relation to a spot, and then the order, right? So from kind of like the highest, the top highlight to the bottom highlight. And then the dishes. So if I wanted to surface some dish names that I liked on the actual spot, on the actual place, this database will store the dish information and then relate it to the spot. Now, what I had to do next was actually create these databases because so far, Claude defined the data structure, defined the fields that these databases needed to have, but it didn't actually create the databases in Notion, right? And I could have done this manually. I could have went to Notion, created a new database, and then manually created the fields that would map to this data structure here. But I thought, why not ask Claude to do this for me using the Notion MCP? The Notion MCP is basically the way that Claude can integrate to Notion, right? MCP is the Model Context Protocol, which allows AI assistants like Claude to communicate with Notion and automate actions on it. So I typed MCP here to see if I already had a connection to the Notion MCP, and turns out that I did have a connection already. But I actually faced some issues with connecting, and so I had to go to Claude.ai, to basically the web version of Claude, go to the customize page here, and then under connectors, I had to disconnect and connect my Notion account again. I went through the connection process, and I gave permissions to Claude to communicate with the Notion MCP. Now, I still had, so what I did is I went to Notion, I created a database called Breakfast Spots, and then I told Claude, I want you to set up the database, I want you to set up the fields of the database using the Notion MCP, and I gave it a link to this database here. But what ended up happening was it was giving me a bunch of errors, saying that it couldn't update for some reason the fields of the database. I don't know why. I had to do a bit of back and forth where I went to my Notion MCP connection and I enabled all the different tools here that the MCP has. But that didn't really resolve it. It was still getting blocked, and it couldn't it couldn't edit the fields of the database. So I eventually gave up and just asked it to build new databases from scratch, because this is what it was asking me if I wanted to do. It said that I can build the whole thing fresh on a connection-owned page in 30 seconds. So I'm like, okay, fine, do that. So that ended up working. It went ahead and created the 3 databases, and all the fields were now there on each database, as you can see here. And then it continued with the process of relating each database to one another. So relating spots to the highlights and the dishes database. And also it went ahead and seeded the databases, which basically meant that it added some sample data in there. As you can see, it added some sample records of different coffee shops and restaurants. So with the databases created and seeded, the last thing I wanted to do here was move them all under one main project page. So I went ahead and created a page for me, and it moved the databases under that page, so everything was kind of like centralized under one place. And that basically covers the part of setting up Notion as a CMS. Now, with the Notion CMS ready, the last missing piece was creating a content loader script. Now, a content loader script is what makes statically generated websites possible, because what it does is it basically at the time when I decide that I want to deploy a new version of my website, let's say I add a bunch of new breakfast spots and I'm ready to push them to my website, the content loader script basically extracts all the data from the Notion database and then converts all that data into website pages, right? It creates one of these restaurant or breakfast spot pages for each record in the database, right? It's the converter, is the one that takes the data and builds website pages with that data. And these website pages are then there are files that can basically be deployed to the web, and that's how we get a statically generated website that does not require a server to run. So to create the content loader script, it actually Claude already proposed to do that next. So yeah, I said let's build the loader now. And it went ahead, it wrote the code for the loader. And what I had to do was just create a Notion integration token and connect it to the databases, the Notion databases that I created for the CMS. So to do this, I went to my Notion settings, I went to connections, and then I created a new connection here, which gave me a new access token that I was able to copy. And then I pasted it to Claude here. I told it that this is my connection token. And it went ahead and saved it into the environment files of the project, just so it has it there for future reference. And then I also went to the parent page, to this project page here, and I went to the 3 dots, connections, and I selected that integration to give it access to this page. Basically, this is how you enable an integration to have to be able to read and edit all the content that is available on a specific page. And the cool thing with Notion is that when you add the integration to, let's say, a project page like this one, all the databases underneath, so all the databases that form my CMS, automatically also get access. The connection automatically also gets access to those databases, so it's able to read and edit them. So that's all I had to do there. And now by doing this, what it meant is that Claude was able to run my content loader script and generate the website files based on the data that I had in my Notion database. Now, with these pieces in place, my directory was pretty much ready to go live. What I had to do next is push the code to GitHub, just so I can have like my version control to basically have a place where I'm backing up my code, but also so I can then connect this GitHub repository to Cloudflare, which is my deployment platform of choice, and maintain an automated deployment pipeline. So whenever I'm making new changes to my website and I'm pushing the code to GitHub, it automatically publishes it. It automatically deploys a new version of the website to Cloudflare. So I just told it that I want to push this code to a new GitHub repository. Let me know once it's done so we can set up an automated deployment to Cloudflare. Now, it went ahead. Claude already has connection to my GitHub. If it doesn't, then it will tell you that it doesn't, and it will basically give you the steps that you need to take in order to connect to the GitHub CLI, to the command line interface, so it can create repositories for you and it can push code to them. So it went ahead and did that, and that was pretty much it. Here's my GitHub repository with all the code of the website pushed to it. Now, with all the code of my website pushed to GitHub, I was now able to work on deploying the website on Cloudflare. So Cloudflare is a platform I'm choosing for deployment of static websites because it's actually free and it has very, very generous limits. I think like you don't need to pay anything unless your website is receiving thousands and thousands of views every single day, which obviously for like a little project like this one, that's way above what I need. So yeah, it's free and you can deploy, I think, unlimited number of websites here. So I went to Cloudflare. I have my account there. I went to the workers and pages section under build. And here I could create a new application. Now, in order for Cloudflare to connect to your GitHub repository and retrieve all the code, get all the code of the website from the GitHub repository, you actually need to install this app on your GitHub. It's called Cloudflare Workers and Pages. You just go to this link here. Install the app on GitHub, and then you need to go to configure to basically select which GitHub repositories you want to give the app access to. So I chose the repository that I deployed my website project on. And then by having this app, I was able to go to create application and then go through the steps here to configure the deployment. So I selected continue with GitHub. I selected the repository from the dropdown here. These are already filled in. These values are already filled in, but this is what the commands need to look like for the auto deployment to take place. And with that, I just press deploy, and then within a few seconds, my website was up and live on the web. So Cloudflare gives you a subdomain that you can use. I hid it there for privacy reasons, but it gives you a subdomain that you can that your website is live on, and you can share that subdomain. It's public. Anybody can go to that subdomain and view your website. But if you want, you can also connect it to a custom domain very easily. You just go to domains here, or I think within the settings of the worker, you're able to easily connect to a custom domain. Also, Cloudflare allows you to purchase domains, and actually I purchased all my domains from Cloudflare because it's I find it to be cheaper than other providers, and also they keep the same price forever. Like I didn't have any increments in price. Actually, no, I think there was once an increment in price, but it's not like other platforms which promise one price and then the next year when you renew the domain, they automatically increase the price. Cloudflare has a fixed pricing model. So yeah, you can buy a domain, or you can connect another domain that you have and then point it to your worker here, so you're able to access the website with your custom domain. Now, the last step I had to take to properly configure the deployment of the website was to connect my Notion integration token to this deployment project here. And the reason I had to do this is because every time that a new version of the website gets deployed, the latest content needs to be pulled from my Notion CMS in order for all the website pages to be built. So actually now the content loader, this script here that builds all the static pages from the content coming from the Notion database, this script actually runs inside the Cloudflare deployment platform. So this is the reason why here there is this command that says npm run build. This npm run build basically runs this content loader that I set up earlier to retrieve all the latest content from the Notion database and build all the website pages with it during the deployment of the website, right? So in order for that to happen, there is a missing piece, which is the secret Notion token, the integration token that I retrieved earlier, the one that I got in this step of the process. Where is it? Connection here. When I created this integration token and I gave it to Claude, I gave it to Claude because I wanted to run the build process in my local environment, but I also want to run the build process every time the website gets deployed. So that's why I had to go into the settings of this deployment project, and under variables and secrets here, and this is actually under the build section. Right, this is important because there's another variables and secrets section higher up in this page. You have to go under the build section, right? These are the build commands, the build configuration. Under variables and secrets, I had to create a new secret and name it Notion token, and then copy paste that integration token that I retrieved from Notion earlier, right? And with this in place now, whenever the website gets deployed on Cloudflare, that content loader script runs. It retrieves all the latest pages from Notion, and it generates all the pages of the website using the Notion database data. Now, the last piece of the puzzle was figuring out a system that would enable me to easily deploying new versions of this website every time that I make a change on the data that I have in my Notion databases. And the reason this is important is because if you remember from this part here, I said whenever we push new code to the GitHub repository, and what it means to pushing your code is it means that you're making a change to the code of the website, right? You're making a change to the actual files that that form the website, right? If you make a layout change, or if you make add a new element or remove an element from the website, that's a code change, right? And if you're pushing that code to your GitHub repository, that will automatically trigger a new deployment of the website in Cloudflare, because Cloudflare and GitHub are connected via this app that we set up earlier. So that's kind of like the only path that we have at this point. And that's not very efficient, because I would want to deploy my website whenever I add data or edit data on my Notion databases, right? I want this to be kind of like the trigger of new deployments of the website. I don't want to be making changes to the code of the website in order for a deployment to take place. Or at least that shouldn't be the only trigger. I want changes of the actual data in my databases to be triggering deployments as well, because that's what rebuilds the new version of the website and puts it out live on the web. So I had to figure out a way to trigger a deployment in Cloudflare without having to change the code of the website. And this is possible using something called a deploy hook. So back into the project settings in Cloudflare, if I scroll down to deploy hooks, there is a section here where I can create a new deploy hook. And a deploy hook is basically a webhook, right? It's a URL that you can make a post request to, and that will trigger a deployment of the project in Cloudflare. And what's cool is that if you go to Notion, you can actually create a button, right? So there's this element in Notion called the button that allows you to send a webhook, right? So here I pasted that deploy hook that I created. I clicked done, and now on my project page in Notion, I had this deploy site button, which I could click, and automatically that will create that will initiate a new deployment on the Cloudflare project. Like, as you can see here, it says build in progress, which basically means that the entire building of the website is happening by me clicking on this button. And this is exactly what I wanted, because if you remember from earlier, building basically means that Cloudflare is running this command here, npm run build, which in turn triggers the content loader script, which in turn pulls the latest data from the Notion databases, converts them into website pages, and constructs the whole static website, right? Statically generates the whole website and puts it out on the web, right? And that's essentially the exact pipeline that I wanted to automate here every time that I'm updating the databases on my Notion project here. So that's the whole puzzle, right? That's the whole system in place that enables me to have a website directory that I can control and manage from a few Notion databases that I can open on my phone, I can open on my laptop. They're nice to work with. And it also enables me to host this for completely free because it's statically generated. So that brings us to the end of this video. I really hope you found this helpful. If so, let me know in the comments below. If not, also let me know in the comments below so I know what to improve. And also let me know if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos that you would like to see. With that said, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.